So, welcome everybody who's been able to join. For those of you who haven't already checked it out, I do have a YouTube link. In my YouTube link, there is the previous class from last week, which was stanzas 1 through 15. Today's stanzas are 15 through 20, or through 30. So, the way I'll be doing this is I'll actually be reading the stanzas, all of them at once, and then we're going to go over each one, and I'm going to give you kind of an explanation of how that's used in our day-to-day life, like what that means to us and how we should take that. So for anybody who wants to follow along, I am using Jackson Crawford's version, which is the Wanderer's Havamal. So if you have a Havamal and you're like, hey, this one doesn't sound like the one I have, it's probably because it's a different translation. And there's like 7 of them, so it gets... Ooh, that was weird. It gets kind of finicky at times. So if you have any questions or want to know anything about any specific stanza that we go over, please wait until the end, where I will have a kind of a question and answer time frame for that. But without any further ado, let's go ahead and get started. So we'll start with stanza 15 and I'll continue on from there. Stanza 15 in the Wanderer's Havamal is: a noble man should be silent, thoughtful, and bold in battle. But every man should also be cheerful and happy till the inevitable day of death. 16. An unwise man thinks he'll live forever if only he can avoid a fight, but old age will give him no peace, even if weapons do. 17. It's a fool who stares when he comes to a feast. He talks to himself or he brodes. As soon as he gets a drink, he'll say anything he knows. 18. Only a man who is wide-traveled and has wandered far can know something, about how other men think. Such a man is wise. 19. Don't hold on to the mead horn, but drink your fair share. Say something useful or stay quiet, and no one else will judge you poorly if you go to sleep early. 20. A gluttonous man, unless he watches himself, will eat to his own detriment. A wise man will often ridicule a fool on account of his belly. Even cows know when they should go home and leave behind the fields. But an unwise man does not know the measure of his own appetite. 22. A stupid man and an undisciplined one laughs at everything he hasn't learned, a lesson that would do him good. He himself isn't flawless. 23. A fool stays awake all night worrying about everything. He's fatigued when the morning comes and his problems remain unsolved. 24. An unwise man thinks anyone who laughs with him is his friend. He doesn't understand that the wise are mocking him, even when he overhears them. 25. An unwise man thinks anyone who laughs with him is his friend, but he won't find these friends when he goes to court. No one will speak on his behalf. 26. A stupid man thinks he knows everything if he hides himself in a corner, but he doesn't even know what he'll answer if men ask him questions. 27. It's best for a fool to keep his mouth shut among other people. No one will know he knows nothing if he says nothing. An ignorant man doesn't know how little he knows, no matter how much he talks. 28. You will seem wise if you know the answer and know how to explain it. People are not able to keep a secret of what they hear about other people. 29. You will say plenty of nothing with all your talking. If you never close your mouth, a hasty tongue, unless it's disciplined, often earns its owner punishment. Stanza 30. No one should ridicule anyone else, even if he comes visiting. Many a man seem wise, if he is never questioned, and he gets to brood with dry skin. So, stanzas 16 through 30, they're pretty much covering how to present yourself. And this is important in this day and age. We all need to know how to present ourselves. We oftentimes come to points where how we present ourselves and how we're looked upon by others seems to be something that we don't really grasp. We don't really pay attention to. And we often find that when we are looked at by others, that their judgment carries a lot of weight with us, And even though the Havamal does say that we should look within ourselves for our own comfort and our own worth, we do tend to put a lot of weight into what people think of us. And in so doing, we often don't think of how we look when we talk to others and just throw in nonsense that really doesn't carry any weight in the conversation that's currently going on. So I'd like to start with stanza 16, which is an unwise man thinks he'll live forever, if only he can avoid a fight, but old age will give him no peace, even if weapons do. It's important for us to judge when we should attack someone or when we should say something against someone, but we should also know that peace is not what we're seeking. Being an honorable person is not sitting around and making no waves. Our entire life is a story. And no one's going to want to read the story of someone who's done nothing, who's said nothing, who's waited his entire life for old age and arrived safely there with nothing to show for it. Being adventurous, being a voice against certain things, this is going to help your story, it's going to help those around you, and it's going to give you yourself a little bit of respect within yourself. It's often that we sit and we reflect upon the times we didn't do anything. Less often we reflect on the times we did do something, whether it was right or wrong. So in stanza 17, it's a fool who stares when he comes to a feast. He talks to himself or he broods. As soon as he gets a drink, he'll say anything he knows. Often we go to parties, and how many times do we see that one guy sitting in the back, not talking to anyone, not sharing anything he knows with anyone, just quiet, doesn't really participate in anything. Even in the server here at the Raven's Banner, we see this a lot. We see people who just sit and don't say anything. Oftentimes when you just sit and you don't say anything, you kind of appear threatening to people. You kind of appear off-putting. Nobody really wants to talk to you because nobody really knows anything about you. You're not willing to open up and talk to people. Yet when you get a drink in your hand, you'll talk about nonsense. Nothing. You'll spit out anything you can just to say you know stuff, which oftentimes, more than not, we see that what you know is nothing. So it's best not to be that kind of a person. 18. Only a man who is wide-traveled and has wandered far can know something about how other men think. Such a man is wise. And this is true. We often see people who have never left their hometown, who have never done anything outside of school or outside of one job. Oftentimes they try and correct us. They try and tell us hey, this is how things are supposed to be done, and they're wrong. It's not. Those of us who have traveled, those of us who have seen cultures outside of ours, those who have seen worldly, I don't want to say ways because ways just sounds weird, but who has seen things through the eyes of other cultures, who has been to those and experienced things. These experiences are what life is built on. The more we experience, the more wisdom we have about things. And this is what we are supposed to share. This is what we talk about. If you have nothing to talk about, you seem as though you are an unwise person just spouting off information to make yourself look smarter. And it never works out. 19. Don't hold on to the meat horn, but drink your fair share. Say something useful or stay quiet, and no one else will judge you poorly if you go to sleep early. In the last week's class, we talked about how the stanzas talk about drinking just in excess. One should not shy away from drinking. It's a celebratory celebration. Everybody should drink, be happy, be merry, be cheerful. Enjoy the drink. But don't drink to the point where you are not only embarrassing yourself, but embarrassment to the company you keep. Do not get to the point where you can't calmly think about what you're about to say. And if you do feel yourself getting to that point, no one will judge you if you do bow out early. Say, all right, I'm going to call it a night, guys. I'm a little more rough for wear. I already know this, and chances are I'm not going to be a very good company after that. So no one will judge you if you leave early. Although some of us tend to judge our friends a little higher on that, but that's a little detail. 20. A gluttonous man, unless he watches himself, will eat to his own detriment. Wise men will often ridicule a fool on account of his belly. This one hits a little close to home. I don't know if y'all can tell or not, but on camera, I'm actually this fat in real life. Does it bother me? A little bit. Do I do things to kind of mitigate it? Yeah, but I could definitely learn more from this, and we all can. How often have we been presented with something that we thought was a really great treat, that we really enjoyed as children, and now as adults we're all like, I can do this anytime I want. This is all I have. Like, all I have to do is sit here and just spend my money on it. This is great. And it kind of loses its flavor. It kind of loses like that nostalgic feeling you get when you eat it. There's a lot of things in life that you can be gluttonous with. It's not just food. It's not just alcohol. It could be something as simple as photos on the internet, cars, anything. This is about addiction, all right? We're in a time and a day and age where instant satisfaction is something we relish in. But we should also know when to call it quits and step away from stuff. That's what stanza is about. Stanza 20 is about that. Stanza 21. Even a cow knows when they should go home and leave behind the fields, but an unwise man does not know the measure of his own appetite. All you can eat buffets are an amazing thing, guys. But all you can eat does not mean until the store closes. We are constantly in battle with ourselves when it comes to something like this. This right here is my favorite drink in the world. Absolute favorite drink. Drink like 4 or 5 of those a day. You know on the can it says don't drink more than 2 of them? But when it comes to Monsters, I'm an unwise man. I drink it like it's water. I know damn well it ain't gonna help me. "22. A stupid man and an undisciplined one laughs at everything he hasn't learned. A lesson that would do him good, he himself isn't flawless." We see this all the time. Somebody is down on their luck. Somebody has had something happen to them that could have been prevented, that we might have seen as something that we would have been able to predict and see and planned ahead for. The problem is that even though we see these things, even though we plan for these, we still laugh at these people. Oftentimes, we laugh without giving any advice. An unwise man laughs at many a things. And a wise man sees that someone needs help. They see that this matter, this problem they're facing is something that's going to plague them for the rest of their lives. So we give advice. We try and help. Undisciplined and stupid men often just laugh. We're all at fault for laughing when things like this happen. Because there are things that to us would have been different. There are things that to us we'd have been able to change. We might be smart enough to deal with that, but we're not smart enough to realize that this person is hurting and in need of help. As heathens, we should always be willing to help. It's the very beginning of the stanzas. We talked about it last week. Always be willing to help someone. Stanzas 23. The fool always stays awake all night, worrying about everything. He's fatigued when the morning comes, and his problems remain unsolved. How often do we all sit up at night thinking about, oh man, I should not have said that thing to that pretty girl over there at 7-Eleven. That's really going to come back and bother me later. Even though it's minuscule, it's nothing you should be worried about. Even the big problems. I don't know when I'll be able to fix my truck. I don't know if I'll be able to make it to the next bill cycle. I don't know if I can make it to the next paycheck. Staying up worrying about that late at night, when has that ever solved anything? When you wake up in the morning, you're tired because you were up all night. Nothing's been fixed. Everything's still exactly where it was when you went to bed. Worrying about stuff doesn't help anything. Use your waking time to formulate a plan, a way out of the situation, a way to better your predicament. Don't waste your sleeping hours just so that you can sit there and fret over something that's not going to change by the time you wake up. "24. An unwise man thinks anyone who laughs with him is his friend. He doesn't understand that the wise are mocking him even when he overhears them." This happens a lot. We do this a lot. Even in the Discord, we do this a lot. This is something that everyone does. We always laugh at people who don't know any better, and oftentimes they think it's funny that they're being laughed at instead of seeing what needs to be changed within themselves so that this isn't something that continues. And with that being something that all of us as heathens need to work on, it's still something that even when we see it, we should remember. Call it out and help others. These aren't commandments. These aren't things that you have to do to be a heathen. These are things that are guiding us as heathens. That's what the Havamal is about. And if we know the Havamal and others don't, then why shouldn't we be able to share that just like we would anything else for help? Let's not laugh at those who know less than us. Let's help. Let's reach out to them and teach them and show them. Let them have a chance. An unwise man thinks anyone who laughs with him is his friend, but he won't find these friends when he goes to court. No one will speak on his behalf. Oftentimes, we make friends with people who aren't going to be there for us. We make friends with people who, to our face, are friendly, observe us, comment on what we're doing. They don't show concern for us. They're not the ones that reach out to us when something's wrong. They're not the ones that reach out to us to see if we're okay. They're the ones who are just there. This day and age, we call them fair weather friends. They're the friends that are only there when it's good for them and when it suits them, but as soon as you're in trouble, they're gone. Listen to any country song. Just about every country song in the world sings about it. It's life. Don't have restrictions that allow you not to have friends like this. Just know that those are the friends that you can't call on. Be mindful of that. Understand that is something that you will have to deal with. Stanza 26. A stupid man thinks he knows everything if he hides himself in a corner, but he doesn't even know what he'll answer if men ask him questions. You might be the most book-smart person that's ever walked the earth. But if you hide that and don't share it with others, no one will ever think that you're wise. If you hide in a corner and think, well, if nobody asks me any questions, I won't seem foolish, people are going to see you as foolish because you're not doing anything to actively move forward. Actively moving forward with knowledge requires you to give and take. You must speak to other people in order to understand all there is to encompass it. There are differences in opinion, not just between groups of people, but also between individuals. I myself have differing opinions when it comes to different things within Norse heathenry. My views on Valhalla, my views on Heimdall and Odin are different than others. Do I claim to know everything? No, I don't. Will I sit down and discuss with you what I know? Any day of the week. Because that's how we learn. That's how we become wise. Stanza 27. It's best for a fool to keep his mouth shut among other people. No one will know he knows nothing if he says nothing. An ignorant man doesn't know how little he knows, no matter how much he talks. This stanza, it may not sound like it's helpful, but it is. When you enter a room with a bunch of people who do know stuff, who do know what you're talking about and what the subject matter is, if you sit there and listen with your mouth shut, you're going to walk away with more knowledge than you went in there with. If you know nothing and try and talk as if you do, everyone will know. Somebody will notice that. You cannot presume you know more than everyone. You might know more than a great many, but you don't know more than everyone. And if you don't know anything on a subject, it's best to just not pretend that you do. Stanza 28. You will seem wise if you know the answer and know how to explain it. People are not able to keep a secret of what they hear about other people. This stanza has 2 points. The first point. You will seem wise if you know the answer to something. Wiser still if you can actually explain it. Is it wise to answer somebody with something that you don't fully understand? No, but it's still an answer. You're still giving them the information. Quantum physics. Do I know anything about quantum physics? Not in the slightest. Can I answer a few quantum physics questions? Yes. Why? Because I pay a lot of attention to sci-fi shows. So I might know the answer, but I can't explain it. So it doesn't make me wise that I know the answer. It makes me wise when I can explain it. The second part is the secrets part. You might hear one thing from somebody about somebody else, and you might be able to keep it quiet, but nobody else will. You must always know that there's never, ever a secret worth knowing that no one else knows. One of my favorite statements, it comes from a fucking book that has nothing to do with the religion, is 3 men can keep a secret if one of them is dead. If you know something, and you think you know that as a secret that no one else knows, chances are somebody else knows it. Secrets don't stay secrets for long. Stanza 29. You will say plenty of nothing with all your talking if you never close your mouth. A hasty tongue, unless it's disciplined, often earns its owner punishment. This one is a little closer to home for some of us. Some of us watch TikTok. I'm on TikTok live right now. Some of us watch on TikTok and we see a lot of people who hastily jump into any fray without any knowledge about it, just to defend somebody that they like, somebody they feel is right, which is all well and good. But don't go in there without arming yourself, without knowing that what you're going in there for is a battle of knowledge. If you can't answer the questions, if you go in there just talking to talk, people are going to tear you a shred. That's just how it's going to go. And that's like life. How many of these Karens do we see go into stores and start spouting off stuff? I know more about your procedures than you do, and then get rip-a-shundered by fucking management, but have to be appeased because of company policy. Those are the people with that false bravado that believe that their tongue is their greatest weapon. Yet, all they do is spout nonsense. None of it matters. That's what we must watch for. That's what we must remember. We must remember that if we are going to say something against something, that we use what we actually know. And we don't misquote things and use misinformation to get our points across, because that's going to be problematic. That's where people are going to start honing in on the weakness in the armor that you have built. The shield that you have used is going to be weak because somebody's going to be able to find that little kink in the armor and tear it apart. That is the punishment that will happen. Stanza 30. No one should ridicule anyone else, even if he comes visiting. Many a man seems wise if he is never questioned, and he gets too broad with dry skin. If you're going to make fun of somebody, don't make fun of somebody for who they are, what they believe. If you're going to ridicule somebody, ridicule them for a lack of knowledge that they have presented as if it is the almighty truth. When we ridicule someone, we do more damage to our own image than we do to theirs. Because people see that and they go, is this the kind of person I want to talk to? Is this the kind of person I want to learn from? Is this the kind of person who I feel can represent me as a leader or as a friend or even as somebody that I can confide in? When we attack somebody with ridicule, we're upsetting a balance within a social construct. And that social construct that we're kind of upsetting, if we don't know what we're talking about, we quickly become the one that's ridiculed. It's a double-edged sword, and we must learn to wield it like a surgeon, not like a berserker in battle. So I hope that helps clear up stanzas 16 through 30 for everyone, and that everyone kind of has an idea of what they mean, how they can kind of relate that to their life. And again, if you haven't already, check out my YouTube channel. The link is in my bio on TikTok. It's also in my bio on Discord. But you can see it. The classes from last week were stanzas 1 through 15. I actually started this one with the reading of 15, but we went over 16 to 30. All right. So next week I will actually do 31 to 45, and then I'll see y'all then. But if y'all have any questions for me, feel free to ask them now.